What categories of tests are there in the state cosmetology exam? Into which two sections are the tests divided? What do you need to pay attention to? What can be skipped? Which books should you buy? Which apps should you download? All of this in today's video. Stay with us, watch until the end, and you'll definitely pass. Hello friends. As I promised, I'm recording a video for you now on how to pass the state exam. To obtain a cosmetologist license, for those who don't know what we're going to talk about, what it's all about, I recommend you go to my channel, or I'll leave a link in the comments to previous videos in which I explain how to validate a cosmetologist license in America. I talk about all the documents needed and all the step-by-step procedures. So please go and watch, and then you'll understand what we're going to discuss today. So the state exam, the state board exam, is the only thing that, in my opinion, is somewhat moderately difficult, but it's the only thing to which you'll need to devote the most time and effort. Attempts to pass the state exam, they give you many attempts, I was told. As long as I don't pass, I'll have as many attempts as needed. The only thing is you have to pay for each attempt. Preparation. How I prepared for the exam, first are the books. I already showed and talked about the books in a previous video. Now I'll briefly show again. If you are taking or retaking the cosmetology license, what is meant is that you will be doing hairdressing, nails, facials, and facial care. Then you need to buy a book, Cosmetology Style Board Exam. Here are all the tests for cosmetologists. I took it for a skincare specialist. This is what is called, in Slavic countries, I'm from Ukraine, it is called the profession of a cosmetologist. Here, I took it in Pennsylvania, which is different. From now, I am in Florida. It is called a skincare specialist. These are the tests that I studied for. I memorized all the tests completely. Next, the book. I also studied and went through the book Milady's. I also showed it in the previous video. And there was another program. It's called the Aesthetician Exam Center. I will also try to leave it in the descriptions. For now, I'll show it like this. I hope you can see it. There were also a lot of questions here. Well, not very many. I think probably about 5-6 questions, but for the 100 questions that you need to pass in total, it's quite a significant number that were on the exam. So, how does the exam itself take place? Once you have prepared, learned all the tests, and are confident that you are ready, you schedule a date that is convenient for you. The exam date, also the tests, if you live in a big city, although I lived in a small town, and we also had a center where you could take these tests. They send you the rules that you need to follow, what you can bring with you, what you cannot, and which documents to take. When you arrive, security checks you to ensure you don't have anything extra, no headphones. All of this is monitored by cameras. On the computer, it's all in test format. Calm music. There were 100 tests. The tests were divided into 2 groups. Again, we are now talking about the Fisher Specialist, which includes waxing, makeup, everything related to facial care, everything covered by this license, and eyelashes, and horse tests. 2 sections. The tests were divided into 2 sections. The first section is what a cosmetologist needs to work in a salon in your state. These are the state regulations. There were, I believe, 15 questions. The first section is test laws. For example, who can work in a salon, what conditions must be met in the salon, how many people can work in a certain area, how much space should be allocated to each person, or if it's a cosmetologist, there must be a separate room, what should be in the room. I definitely remember a question about the requirement for ventilation. These are all specifically state laws. To pass this part, you need to go to Google and specifically search for the working session conditions in a salon in your state. Go through these points that I just mentioned to you. This will be the first part. Also in the app that I just showed you, Aesthetician, Exam Center, you can download it from the App Store. There were many specific questions there regarding this part, the laws that apply to the work of an esthetician, which an esthetician should generally know. There were, I believe, also some questions about taxes, how to pay taxes correctly, what percentage. In general, I think you understand me. The second part, questions specifically related to estheticians and aesthetics. The first part had many questions about sterilization and disinfection. How to ventilate rooms, how often rooms need to be cleaned, which disinfectants kill which microbes. I even remember there was something about which spores are killed and which are not, the transmission of infections like AIDS, hepatitis, HIV. You should also know all of this, how they are transmitted through what means, like through a handshake. The AIDS virus is not transmitted. Then about how waxing, in which direction to pull out the hair, how to properly apply wax, this jaction, what temperature the wax should be. There were also a couple of questions like that. There were several such questions about makeup. I even remember I had a note, yes, how to apply blush, how to blend concealer. Regarding peels, I think nothing, only I think which cosmetologists have the right to perform peels. I think only superficial ones, what we have the right to do here. There was such a question about acids. I don't remember there being anything related. For example, there was a question about which mask can be used in a clinic. So in general, the first part was difficult for me to pass, to be honest, because I didn't know there would be questions of that type. The questions, and I didn't even have enough time for it, it all took about an hour. You are given the second part. I went through it quickly. I still had time left. It was quite easy. I wouldn't say that all the questions were ones that required deep thought, but for the most part, I went through all the questions easily. After you finish the exam, you immediately exit into the corridor. They inform you whether you passed or not, and they gave me a slip of paper saying I passed the exam. If you don't pass, you can reschedule for another attempt, but let's hope you pass on the first try. As the book mentioned, the exam time is about an hour. I already mentioned that girls or boys, if you have any questions left, I might not have time right now. I will explain everything in detail about security, what things. I will leave a link to my Telegram channel where we can communicate and interact. Another interesting fact is that many people are afraid of the exam. I encourage you, don't be afraid. The level of education for cosmetologists in America and in our CIS countries, Ukraine, Russia, I don't know where you are from, is the same. I would even say that in Ukraine we were taught more thoroughly, in my opinion, than here, because from the preparation with the books, I can already see that, for example, like this book, yes, I showed it in that video where they train cosmetologists with it. I tried to find information here about eyelash extensions, and here I found probably only 1 or 2 pages in such a huge book. And it was a shock for me because I knew a lot about eyelash extensions, a lot about masks. I had been working for many years when I moved here. It was a shock for me that they are not as detailed. Here, everything is taught, so don't be afraid if you studied there abroad. In Ukraine, where you studied, I encourage you, you will definitely pass if you studied well there and remember all the information. The only thing you will need is the language. Well, yes, take the language, review everything, memorize it specifically in English so that we can read the question. The questions are very easy. Answer options are provided. I don't remember there being questions where you had to provide your own answer. There were, I believe, 4 answer options and you had to choose the correct one. And to pass the exam, you needed to score, I think they allowed 70 or 75, 80%. So if you score that percentage, you pass. In other words, 15% is allowed for mistakes. That is quite a large number for 100 questions. And when I got my first license, as I mentioned in the previous video, we moved to Florida. And I will try to record the next video for you about what to do. once you get your license. I think it will be relevant for you to know how to choose a line or branch, if I can put it that way, with your diploma and how to work. I moved to Florida and I decided that I would work in the field of eyelash extensions. The first thing is demand. I didn't even have enough time to do all the facials. Everything was in demand and I didn't use it. It turned out that there was such a demand for the service of eyelash extensions that I left everything else and focused only on extensions because, as I already mentioned, the level of knowledge and education is not as good, if I can say so, as one would like here. Many girls are looking for resources on where to study. And I also started teaching girls eyelash extensions because I had experience from Ukraine. Here I have already gained my own experience. I worked for 2 years in Pennsylvania in a salon. And when I came here, I already opened my own company, a school. We teach girls eyelash extensions because, as I mentioned, American education here does not provide such detailed information. And the fact that I share my experience and knowledge with the girls and guide them. Where can you use your license with my course? Go to a salon, work, do eyelash extensions, and earn very good money, and then also teach other girls. So I hope that everything is clear to you regarding the exam. If you have any questions about the books, the programs, the questions, or if you need support in general, I will be happy to help you. And I also want to ask you if you found this video useful, if this is the field, or if this is what you are looking for. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel for the next videos. I will be talking about starting a company in America, how to proceed with work, how the bank accounts are there. All of this, how to open it, help so that you can. My goal is for you to be able to work independently legally with a license, open your own business, make your own schedule. How will you accept clients? How will you work? What will you do? Whether it's facial care, makeup, or eyelash extensions, the choice is yours. I want to help you rise up and become as good a specialist here as you were in another state, or perhaps you didn't have experience abroad in another country, and you came here and you also want to master this profession, for example, eyelash extensions. I invite you to join me. I will teach and guide you, and I will explain in detail which schools you need to complete here to obtain a license, not to confirm, but to obtain a license from scratch here, and also work and earn well. It's all possible. So I hope that we will see each other again. Don't lose track of me. Subscribe to the channel. I will continue to share my experience with you, and see you in the next video.